right, time for a quid et quo on my printed copy, and we're going to do a forward sentence this time. Amici Dei Christianos laudant. This is from the second lesson of Henley, and we have been introduced to the masculine, but not the neuter. So this is from exercise 13, and this is number 2, Amici Dei Christianos laudant. So let's get started. We always, I copied this in ahead of time, and I always go through and underline the endings for every single word. So we had e, os, and nt. So the first thing you always translate is the verb, laudant. You can go down here to the verb section, all the way over, person, number, and tense. The nt ending tells us that it's going to be the third person. Ost, mustis nt. The number is plural, and the tense is present, although in challenge A, at this level, at this part of the book, we have not learned any verbs yet, so they've just given us laudant to memorize, but there we go. Third person plural means they praise. We have memorized that lauda is to praise, so they praise. Now, we find our subject next, and the reason we do that is because we've just discovered that we need they. We have a third person plural verb. We have to have a third person plural subject to go with it. So we have 3 noun options, Christianos, Dei, and Amici. So we have to have a reason to pick our nominative. We can guess that it's the first word in the sentence because it usually is, but later when your sentences are big and complicated, that won't always be the case. And so we need to have a reason for thinking that. So let's check out the words that we have. We have Christianos. So we need to say to ourselves, or write in, if you need to write it in, that's fine. Or you can just say Christianus Christiani. That's going to be a second declension because of the E, masculine because of the us. So we're going to come down to our declension chart. Make sure that made it onto the video. It did. Okay, we're going to go to our declension chart. This one is from Amy Tellison and her Latin workbook set that I bought online for myself. You can make one. You can use the one from CC, whatever. Here's our second declension, and here's our masculine ending in us. So we're going to go down to the os for Christianos, and we see that it's accusative, which is direct object, so it can't be the subject. So that's not going to be it. While we're here, since we've identified it, we'll go ahead and go down to Christianos, down to the nouns. We're going to go ahead and write in that it's masculine, and that it's plural, and that it's in the accusative case. So we've already actually done that, even though we're not translating it yet. We found those things out to determine it was not the subject. Okay, let's move back to Dei and Amici. We notice that those two have the same ending, and they're both I. Deus Dei is the second declension, masculine. We might as well write that down. Masculine, and amicus amici is also going to be masculine. But we don't know about the number in the case because we have not yet checked the chart to see what place they have. We'll bring the chart back in. We can see that on the masculine side, this one is second declension, but it's still neuter. So don't look at your neuter endings, only look at your masculine endings. We see that we have 2 E's. We have an E up here for the genitive, possessive, in the singular, and we have nominative in the plural. Now this presents a problem because how do we know if God is the subject or the friend is the subject? Well, there's an easy way because we have the word God. God can't be in plural. There is only one God. In Latin, they have a completely different word for referencing other gods, like the traditional ancient Roman gods, Neptune, Jupiter, whoever they are. That's a different word. The word Dei specifically is the Christian God, and there can only be one of him. So he can't be a nominative plural. That means the only remaining option for Dei is to be a possessive. So we'll go ahead and write that in since we discovered it. We'll come down here. We already wrote that it's masculine. The number has to be singular because it's God. It's our God, Dei. And the case has to be genitive because that's the only one, the I. It's the only one it could be because it's the only one with the E-I ending. So now we're down to amici. And that one has to be, is masculine. We already said it was masculine and it's second declension. Gender, number, we look at our E down here in the nominative, it's going to be plural because that's the only option left. Something has to be a subject of the sentence. Technically, it could be genitive, but we're out of words. We have to have a subject, so that means it can't be the genitive. It must be a plural. Plural, and the case has to be nominative. So we have done the GNC, the gender number case, for all of our nouns with our chart. Now that we've done that, we can get rid of our chart, and we are ready to start translating. And actually at this point, once you've done all these things, there's almost nothing left to do. So if we need amiki, which is friend, to be in the nominative, we're going to say, oh, and plural, because there's our plural. Friends, we're going to say the friends. Because we know that we add a, an, or the. It could be a friends and friends. I don't guess that really works. You need to say the friends. But we add a, an, and the whenever it would be appropriate to use in English. The friends. We found that dei is the genitive, which is possessive. And when you have a possessive, you write of. So it's going to be of God. And Christianos is plural accusative. And in the accusative, we use the. So it's going to be the Christian, plural. So it's going to be Christians. The Christians. So you see how having these written down here helps you make decisions on the fly. You wouldn't accidentally say the Christian because you're looking at the GNC here and you see that you've already pre-written that it was going to be plural, and so you will remember to write Christians right there. Same thing we did with friends. I wanted to say, oh yeah, amiki, amicus, amiki, friend, but I've already written plural, so I remembered to translate it as friends. So using this chart to find the GNC makes sure that you do your translation accurately and you don't miss small things. So the full sentence we have in direct translation is, the friends of God, the Christians, they praise. So in English, we will take our verb and we will stick it right after our subject, our English subject, which will be all of the friends of God, because we have the possessive and that has to go right with the things it's possessing. The thing it's possessing. The friends of God, and then we go grab our verb. We don't need to say they praise, we can just say praise, because our praise references our subject because of its word order in the sentence. You can also say they praise. If it makes more sense to you to go ahead and put the they in, it will not be incorrect. The friends of God, they praise the Christians, would be totally, absolutely 100% accurate. But in regular English, without any extra words, the friends of God praise the Christians. You could also go ahead and take this one step farther and say God's friends praise the Christians, because of God is possessive, and we could use an apostrophe S for that. I am instructing my daughter and my Challenge A class not to go all the way into the apostrophe S. Just leave it here, because when you go back from English into Latin, the of phrase will give you the clue that it's going to be genitive, and we want to keep that clue going as long as we can until we have really fully learned all of our translation and this gets easy. Once it's easy for you and you don't need the of to give you the clue anymore, you can use the apostrophe S, but I'm having us stick with of phrases. So that's it. I will do one more video on how to do it without the quid et quo, but remembering the quid et quo questions. So there you go. I hope that's helpful.